Hi, and welcome to our very first episode of 2024. Happy New Year. I hope that you had a very restful and joyful Christmas and festive season and have started 2024 feeling energized and ready to make this year your year. Now, if you're new to the podcast, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. It's great to have you here and listening in. And if you're a returning listener, then welcome back. It's brilliant that you've picked us again to listen in with and be inspired by, because we're all about helping you to create a healthy, happy, and strong life. I'm here on this podcast to unwrap what health really means, because I know that it can be so overwhelming with all of the noise and all of the different information that is out there about taking care of yourself, whether it's about diet or about exercise or mindset or stress, whatever it is. There's so much, and lots of it is right. It's about you finding the right person for you and the right information for you and the right content that is going to really inspire you to change and create that healthier life. And so I really do hope that I'm helping you to get that on this podcast. Now, I'm so excited to kick off the new year and our first podcast of 2024 with something completely different to anything that I have done before on Live Healthy Now. Today, I'm going to be taking someone who very gracefully volunteered to be a client through a coaching session. Wilma Edwards is joining me to review her health and get clear about the goals she'd like to put in place for 2024. Wilma is someone who I've met only a couple of times, quite briefly, at local networking events, and we've chatted, but I've not worked with her or connected with her outside of those meetings. The last one of those was, I think, about 8 or 9 months ago. So I don't know anything about Wilma and what she's going to share with me today. She simply put herself forward, said she'd be up for recording a coaching session and getting some help with whatever she wants to focus on. And that's what I'm really excited to get stuck into and work with Wilma on in the next hour or so. We'll see how long it goes. We'll probably run under an hour. If I need to do anything more to support Wilma, then we'll do that outside of the recording. So I want to set up the coach-client conversation in the right way. And I've done that with Wilma before hitting the record button, because it's really important that Wilma understands how it's going to work, how the coach-client relationship is, especially when it comes to trust and confidentiality, although she's wavered some of that just as a disclaimer because we're putting it out on the episode. But I wanted Wilma to know that if there is anything she'd like to share that she's not comfortable with putting out to you, the listener, then I will, of course, edit that out. But I want her to be really comfortable today. And this is something that I do at the start of every new client relationship. Tell them about how it's going to work. If it's a program, how that program works, how the coaching sessions themselves work, especially from a time management point of view, because it's very important that we use the time as well as we can and that we stick to the time as well for both of our sakes and so on. So I've done that with Wilma already. Now, the session, I don't know how it's going to go. It could be slightly different to if we weren't recording it for the podcast, but I want to keep it as real as possible. And Wilma feels ready and comfortable to do that with us. The aim of the episode is two things. Firstly, I want you to get a bit of an insight into what a coaching session is like, as maybe this is something you've never experienced before. And secondly, I want you to be inspired to create your own action plan for building strong health through your habits in 2024. And I felt like doing an episode this way with a pretend or real life client, if you like, would be much more interesting and hopefully inspiring than if I had just sat here on my own, rabbiting on about New Year goals and resolutions. But if you do want a bit of that, because it is going to still help you, you can go back and listen to episode 15, which I shared this time last year, about the value of resolutions and whether setting resolutions will help you achieve your health goals. So there's definitely some content in there which could marry up nicely to today's episode. But I really thought that sharing a real person's challenges and desires and supporting them through some coaching to think about how they can begin to make the changes they want would be something so real and motivating that you can perhaps try to follow the same approach with yourself. Of course, you are always welcome to reach out to chat about my coaching services and ways to work with me if having the support of a coach will help you to get off the starting block and move forward with your habit changes. So let's get going and introduce you to Wilma. I really hope that you've enjoyed listening in to the conversation I've had today, coaching Wilma. So thank you so much for joining today, Wilma. I really appreciate you volunteering and taking this huge, powerful step towards making 2024 a healthier year for you. So to get started, what I'd like to do is just ask you a bit about, what you are looking to achieve in 2024 when it comes to your health.
Yeah. So for me, it's weight loss and just putting myself first. I think I've always kind of struggled with my weight sort of for the last 15 odd years. And it's always been a key topic. And I've tried loads of different diets. I've even like therapy and all sorts of things. And I think ultimately what it comes down to is self-care and sort of putting myself first after a lot of reflection. And I find now that I'm a mum of 2 young kids, I'm finding it harder than ever. But there's so many different factors that I think my weight influences in terms of sort of my confidence, how I feel in my clothes. I think I've got quite nice taste when I'm in the shops and things, but then I always think, that's not really going to suit me. And so I kind of put off buying what I would like to buy for what I want to wear. And then as a result, that affects how I feel when I'm going to meetings, because obviously I deal with a lot. I'm a in a client-facing role. So I think a big part for me is putting myself first, weight loss, and being I don't want to not be a bit more selfish, but yeah, just making that time to be able to focus on my weight a little bit more and not like snacking from the kids' food, that sort of thing.
Oh, that's really, appreciated to share that with me. So thank you for starting off with, how you're feeling and what you would like to achieve. So what I would like to do is think about this time next year. So we're recording this just before Christmas. So fast forward to December 2024. How would you like to feel 12 months from now?
On the first word that comes to my head is confident. Just, I would like to stop doubting myself. I would like to feel confident and kind of just own my space. And again, I think it comes back to my weight. Is like I'm always self-conscious about what I look like, and I don't think many people realize this. Is because I feel self-conscious about what I look like, I don't always like stick up for myself in situations, or because I just don't. It's that not good enough, isn't it? It's like not feeling quite good enough to be able to end of 2024. I would like to be able to like own my space, feel confident, and and feel a bit more like just spend a bit more time on me. Yeah.
Okay, I love that word or phrase you've used about owning your space. So tell me, what would that look like if you were someone who was confident and owned their space? What would that look like to someone on the outside?
I think it'll look like someone that knows what they're talking about, someone that you can trust, someone that you can sort of put your faith in. And I think a lot of times when if you have self-doubt about yourself, you kind of emanate that other people should doubt you as well. So to me, I know, even though I know what I'm talking about, sometimes I feel like because I come across like I'm doubting myself, and because I am doubting myself, because I have got that lack of confidence, it creates like a trust barrier, doesn't it? And people kind of get the impression, people then don't think I know what I'm talking about, if that makes sense.
Okay, so what I'm hearing is that you would be someone who people can trust in, so that's very important in the role that you do. You come across as knowing what you're talking about, that you are confident in the knowledge that you have and how you handle discussing that with clients.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a thought about what this would look like in your personal life as well as your professional life?
Gosh, my personal life is completely different. I feel like in my personal life, a lot of people rely on me and people do trust me. And almost to the point where I feel people lean on me more than maybe they should. So it's funny because I think I would want more of that in my professional life, but I would want less of it in my personal life. I want people to be a bit more, like take a bit more responsibility and ownership for their own things, and rely less on me. Yeah.
Yeah,
Don't know if that makes any sense.
yeah, and actually that's something that comes through with most clients, is that they're almost splitting their life and who they are in half, with being one person professionally and one person personally. And it's very interesting because you're describing that the way you feel because of your weight and the impact that's having on your confidence, it's impacting you professionally, but not so much personally. Is that right?
Yeah, because I think the people in my life, in my personal life, have been there for a very long time. Like everybody in my personal life I've known for at least 10 years. So almost like I know that they love me for who I am and I don't have to put up a front with them, if that makes sense.
Mm.
Um, so I almost, they've always known me. I don't know what it is. I'm trying to like work out actually what it is, but I think it's just, um, yeah, I don't know. Maybe that's an area we should work on to try
Yeah, I
understand.
think.
But maybe it's that like
Mm,
need to like put on a front for other people that I don't know.
mm, interesting. Yeah.
Mhm.
So that's something I think we can definitely come back to. And if anyone can hear a pencil, I am writing down just odd little words that Wilma's saying, because it's really important to pick up on specific words and phrases, because they often are linked to what could be limiting beliefs that are built in to, Wilma's, when we all have this, our belief system. So yeah, that's very interesting, because often people are the opposite to you. And I'm not saying this is, neither is right or wrong, in that professionally people are behaving as the person they really want to be, but then behind that they aren't that way at all and are really struggling. So it can be either or, but it's very interesting that you are feeling and living this way. So it sounds like, from what you're explaining, personally you're very comfortable with people. You think people accept you for who you are because they know you and you've got that trust there in a relationship. However, professionally you feel you're lacking confidence because of your weight, and that's creating a lot of self-doubt, which you are perceiving as people having a judgment over you, perhaps not being so professional or so
Mhm.
knowledgeable. Is that the right story that I'm picking
Yeah,
up on?
I'm not sure if I necessarily think it's just my weight that is the barrier. I think that's almost like the element that I think about. Do you know what I mean? That I kind of think about beforehand of what am I going to wear, what is going to look professional and appropriate. I think the bigger your figure is, it's harder to find clothes that are suitable. Because I would love to wear shirts, for example, and it's just not. It just doesn't work with how big my boobs are, if you know what I mean. Sorry if that's inappropriate. And sometimes, and like I would love to wear sort of smart pants and things, but just the way that they're fitted and things doesn't work. So from that perspective, yeah, so there's that element. But I think because I'm not feeling 100%, and I'm probably focused on the wrong thing, I'm then not focusing so much on what I need to do at work. So if I maybe I'm putting a lot. So if I'm preparing for a meeting, it's a big factor for me then to think, right, what am I going to wear for that day? Make sure it's ready. But I could be spending that time preparing for the meeting, if that makes sense, like to put it really simple. So yes, it's a factor, but I also think I'm quite new in my industry. I'm still, it's a very complicated industry. It's very technical. There's so many things to know. I was out of work for almost 3 years, really, because of COVID and maternity leave kind of coinciding with each other. And I just feel like since returning to work after maternity leave and COVID, like, yeah, it's been a struggle.
Yeah, I can hear that. And with the way you look and what you've described about how you feel about yourself, in that term you used about owning your space, what is that kind of belief underneath that means what you wear will lead to owning your space? Is that link to feeling confident in yourself? Tell me a bit about that.
Oh gosh, that's a hard question to answer. I think it's probably very deep rooted, because it's something that you kind of grow up with, being told that first impressions are really important. That what you wear, like when you're in school, you've got to have the right uniform on. You've got to, because you need to look presentable. You need to have your hair perfect. It needs to be tied up. Everything has to be perfect, doesn't it? There was a lot of onus put on school uniform, and to the point, I think I went through a little phase as a teenager where I totally rebelled, and to the annoyance of my teachers, where I was like, why is this so important? Why is it so important that we look presentable? I got detention because I was wearing the wrong attire. Do you know what I mean? So maybe it's now that because for a long time I was out of a client-facing role, and now I'm kind of going back into I was a waitress for a long time. Again, there was a lot of emphasis put on what you're supposed to wear, and how, like, looking presentable for your customers coming in. Then I was a receptionist for a long time. Again, it's very important about what you wear and how presentable you look for customers when you walk in. I worked in hotels for a long time. And then, like I say, I was out of the industry, and now I'm self-employed. It's like all the onus is on me. So now it's like, yes, I'm representing the firm that I've partnered with, but also like I'm building my client base. So I feel like there probably is a lot of, this is all on me now. I need to make sure if I want to get the right clients and if I want to set that first impression and make that good first impression, because really for the kind of work I do, you've got about 2 hours to sell yourself and to show that you know what you're talking about, for people to go to the next to talk about the next meeting. Do you know what I mean? So and go on to do work with you. get paid until the implementation stage. So I think a lot rides on that first impression, those first 2 hours that I spend with a client. You probably feel the same in the kind of work that you do. So yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, maybe that's what it is.
And this is something, obviously, if we were working together longer, I'm sure we will be diving into a lot more to explore. But I think it's really important because you've started the conversation in session by saying that you are concerned about your weight and you've tried to lose weight in the past. You want to put yourself first, and it's linked to confidence. And when we've talked about, what is important for you to feel 12 months from now and how that would look, we've kind of gone into this very professional side of who Wilma is. And it sounds like there's definitely a belief there. I wrote down everything has to be perfect in terms of your presentation for you physically. And so, is the way you look what you think will bring the confidence that you're seeking professionally?
I think it has got a big factor about it. And saying it and listening to you kind of saying that, it seems a bit ridiculous. um, but um, but yeah, probably I've been putting too much onus on the way I look. But I do still, there is still an element of me that's like fighting and going, well, actually, yeah, it does matter. It does matter. You can't turn up to a scraggy because people do judge you on what you look like. They do. And if I turned up to a meeting in tracksuit bottoms, which I would love to do, um, they wouldn't. They would judge that. And I think when you're starting out and you're struggling financially, spending money on clothes, like I just there's loads of little things that it's niggling away at me. I think
Okay.
where I feel I feel frustrated that I can't spend money on clothes. I feel frustrated that I don't fit into the stuff I would like to wear, like the cheaper the stuff at Primark, for example, that wouldn't fit me. It doesn't sit right on me. That's So yeah, I do think it has a big fact. More than I'm probably in a bit of denial about how much it's impacting me.
So this is something you can think about more after our
Yeah.
session today for sure. But just to kind of dig into this, if the goal in 12 months' time is to really feel like you can own your space,
Mm-hmm.
and that's because you are more confident, and the confidence is coming from how you dress. Can you only achieve that by losing weight? Is that what you're telling yourself right now?
Probably to an extent. I think I'm telling myself that I need to lose weight and I need to make more money. And I feel like, and there's also an element of you don't want to spend money because you want to lose weight and you don't want to buy clothes that are bigger because of that psychological barrier of if I have to buy that size clothes, then I'm kind of giving in to the fact that I am now that big. So yeah, there's probably the money element, but also that I need to lose weight in order to achieve that. Yeah.
And why do you feel like now is the time to have this goal and make this change?
Because I'm entering an important year, I think, in my career, and like I say, I returned to work a couple of years ago after being on maternity leave, and I feel like the whole focus for the last 2 years has been cost of childcare and just surviving the early years with the children. And my daughter's turning 3 in December, so she's finally going to have free childcare, and there's suddenly going to be a little bit of additional money. Therefore, I can start spending money on a new wardrobe and like maybe money to go to the gym, just a bit more money on self-care, which I have definitely neglected as a result of the cost of childcare. And yeah, so I feel like I'm entering a phase. My children are getting a little bit more independent. They can play with each other. And to the point now where my husband can start doing sort of bedtime, all these different things that have fallen on my shoulders, which meant that I haven't had much time for myself. There's starting to become more gaps in the next year. So I think it's a good time for me to start thinking, right, what do I want to achieve? And what do I want to do about it?
Yeah, and I think that's really powerful. It is very difficult as a mum who's worked, and the pregnancy itself can be very hard. It changes us physically and mentally in lots of ways for those 9 months. And then we go through physically delivering the baby, but all of the changes that follow are huge. And for yourself to have two children so close together and in the midst of the pandemic and all of the changes that meant for us, economically and culturally as well. So that's incredible that you're seeing 2024 as quite an important milestone year because of the changes that are going to happen financially for you as a family and what that opens up for you. So that's fantastic. And just to think kind of a little bit deeper about that is, one of the things that I do with clients is really at the start get clear about what they want and why that is so important, because for you to make any change, you need to be really anchored to that, because we know that change is difficult. It doesn't matter whether it's our health or something else. We need that motivation, and we create that motivation through knowing why we want something. So thinking about this version of Wilma 12 months from now, she's evolved. She's still got two very young children, but she's evolved from those very difficult early years where you are adapting and changing, and you've returned to work. Why is it important that you are someone who can buy clothes that you feel comfortable and confident in and have the results that you want in how you show up at work, and the money that, as you said, self-employed, you want to be able to earn?
Yeah, I think it's important for me because I don't know how to put it, but like I feel like it's going to define what my future is going to look like. I think this year is going to, in my professional life, is going to be very much focused on building my client base, and I'm going to be starting to sort of be more active on social media and start to really market myself and our business. And to be able to do that, to be able to speak confidently on camera and expose myself to social media and what comes with it, I don't want the thing to be talked about, my double chin and what I'm like. Do you know what I mean? I want the focus to be on what I'm trying to achieve, which is trying to educate people on financial planning and wanting to be a role model for women in the industry and wanting to be a role model for any girls thinking of becoming a financial planner. So I think my image and my brand of building that up is going to become really important to me. It's very much, I don't even know where to start at the moment, but I don't think I'm going to be able to do that and achieve what I want to achieve and openly and honestly be able to have these conversations and teach people and be exposed to everyone if I'm not feeling confident with who I am and how I look and how I present and that sort of thing. So that's, yeah.
That sounds amazing. It feels as though there's energy there coming through about this point you're at in your business and work, and that you can see you're about to embark on a whole new part of this journey and really accelerate where you've already got to and what you've started to build. So image and brand was something that came through there about building, and there's a couple of things that I'm hearing. I feel as though we're flipping between you just knowing that you want to be more confident, like you need to feel confident so you can show up and you can feel comfortable. But then there's also some kind of words and things being said that are about the judgment of others. So it's you want to be confident, but then it's kind of almost like a seesaw going back to I don't want people to judge me for what I'm wearing or the double chin or how I look. It is the fact that people may be judging you, whatever those things are, something that would impact your confidence.
I think if I can get myself in a better mind space, it might not, or I would maybe optimistically hope it would not. But I also think that, yes, it is something that would get in the way of me continuing to do what I want to do. And I think it'll get in the way of my passion for teaching people.
Mm-hmm.
And that would be a shame. Because I do really feel like there's a need for what I have in mind. And it would be a shame if my own hang-ups about my weight and the way I look gets in the way of that.
Yeah.
Because I feel like I've got more to offer than what I'm currently offering.
Okay, right. So I'm going to kind of sum up where we've got to. If we were working in a program here, I would stay on this conversation and start to dig into some of this a little bit more. But I'm going to move on and then see whether this does come back when we start to think about the goals and the actions and creating those new habits. So you 12 months from now want to feel confident, you want to own your space, you want to know that you're showing up fully to build this business, and there's an opportunity because of changes financially with the kids' childcare and the kids getting a little bit older as well, that you're going to have a bit more personal space and flexibility financially and practically to help you shift forward in your business as well. And a big part of achieving that is knowing you're taking more time for you with self-care and building that more confident person that perhaps you already are personally amongst family and close friends. Does that sound
Yeah, that
right?
sounds
Okay,
spot on.
great. So thinking about the weight loss and the confidence, because they were kind of the two things we started off with, is there anything else about losing weight that you would like to achieve that's important to you in your health and how you feel?
Yeah, the thing I would love to be able to do is like run around with my kids. I know it gets really silly, but I feel like I say no to running, and yet my kids have got so much energy, and I know I probably will never have as much energy as what they have, but just to be able to run and not feel self-conscious about, oh, what does that look like? And yeah, I think I'm quite in my personal life quite playful with my kids, and like my husband is as well. And yeah, just to be able to do that and not even like just playing with them on the sort of soft plays and things, making sure that I can fit through the things and not worry about getting stuck or how embarrassing that would be and that sort of thing. So yeah, it's just being able to, like, before my kids get past the age of playing, I want to be able to play with them. It's again, like the other day when it was snowing, I really wanted to take them sledging, but I just couldn't get myself to the point to take them sledging. And I know, again, a lot of that had to do with my weight and the idea of having to up and down the hill and it's just, yeah, it's something so silly. And so they've missed out on something because of my hang up. Yeah.
And what was it about the sledging and up and down the hill that stopped you from going out and actually doing that?
Well, it's just, couldn't be bothered. I couldn't be bothered to go up the hill the whole time. And and then come back down, and to be like, just to be wet, and I don't know, it's just like all these the uncomfortableness of, and then thinking, well, I don't think I would even really properly fit onto the sledge to take my 2-year-old down, and then she's going to be upset because my son will be able to go down, but she won't be able to go down. And yeah, it was just silly things like that where I thought, if I was just maybe 2 or 3 stone lighter, this probably wouldn't bother me so much.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
But
thinking
maybe it
about
would.
your goals. Yeah, and that's interesting. That's something we can, thinking about your goals for 2024. If I was to ask you now, right, what is your top priority for your health in 2024? What would that be?
I think top priority is probably eating healthier and getting a bit more active. I mean, I play netball and things, but I think like I could take something else up. Because yeah, it's a lot of sitting down through the day doing work. I just feel like I need to create more activity, at least like an hour a day or something in my life.
Okay.
That's a tall order.
No, right. So just think about this goal. That's all. That's where we're at right now. Is thinking you want to eat healthier and you want to be more active, and the reason for that is to feel. What would that be?
More energetic. Um, yeah, I think probably more energetic and just a bit more. Again, it comes back to the judgment. Just not bother about what other people think.
Okay. So, and this is really interesting because a lot of us have this as humans, you know, especially women. We've had many beliefs conditioned into us from being young around our worth being linked to the way that we look. And, you know, it could be anything. It doesn't have to be the way you look. It can be the way that you sound, the accent that you've got, you know, it can be any kinds of different things. And so it does, it feels as though the big goal, if you were to just come from your heart, this is what I'm hearing, you want to have more energy and vitality, I would describe it as. And you want that to happen through eating healthier and being more active. That's going to open up more opportunities with your family while the kids are young to get involved in activities, to do the sledging, do the soft play, the running at the park, whatever it might be, but also professionally, as we said, at a very, you know, key part of your new business journey and what that is going to enable you to do in building up a solid client base and revenue on the back of that. But then there is this little thing at the side, which is definitely some limiting beliefs around doing that to take away the judgment of others. So that will be something we dive more into as you start to move forward, is and obviously for you working on this next year on your own, thinking about this when thoughts do come up around, okay, so how do I know that somebody's even noticed I've got a double chin? What has this ever happened before? Has someone called me out for this? Is really questioning those things, because when we do coaching, we go into a lot of, okay, so tell me, has that happened before? You know, and people say all kinds of things. How do you know that someone's ever thought that? You know, and we get into that kind of thing. So I'm, you know, suggesting that you do that as you start to make these changes and question it and think, okay, so is there evidence there to say that, or is that actually me? Because often our insecurities and thoughts that we have around the judgment of others are our own insecurities. And that's why in coaching you really get into those, because it's starting to then shift those beliefs that you might hold about what the judgment of others means to you, because if we strip it all away, ultimately it's your life. You
Yeah.
are the only one that creates your life. But we know, because of these beliefs we have and what that creates in our mind, they create our thoughts, which create our behaviors, which create our actions, which create the reality of our life. And that's the story, you know, of how it plays out. So it is very important to get into these. But I like that kind of almost a flip that you've made from the beginning of weight loss, which opened up the conversation, to it being around feeling more energetic and vibrant, and doing that through looking at what you eat and moving more and living more actively. So are you comfortable with us now focusing on building a bit of an action plan to help
Yeah.
you to feel that way? Yeah, great.
Mhm.
And one of the things that I will suggest, and I can share this with you actually as an audio afterwards, it's I can't remember, it might be a 5 or a little bit longer minute audio, but it's a great visioning exercise, which is so powerful when it comes to creating changes, walking you through that vision of creating a picture, a film, a movie, if you like, in your mind of you 12 months from now, and really getting into those feelings of why does that matter to you to be able to run around with the kids, and really creating the reality of what you would feel like, because again, that's something which will keep anchoring you back to why you're trying to do the things you're trying to do, create these new habits, why it matters to you, because our brain doesn't know the difference between reality and fiction. And so when we plant those seeds of something we want to create, that starts to tell our brain it's real, because that's all the brain operates from. And then you are more likely to start over time making choices that are in alignment with that vision you've planted into your brain as the seeds, and then the roots start to grow. So I can share that with you, and that's something you could listen to, and it might be one of those little steps that you take to start creating that extra time for you and your self-care, to have just a few minutes, maybe a couple of times a week to begin with. So thinking about this goal, what I like to do is really get clear on the goal, and then work backwards in creating a plan as to how you get there. And we've got a big goal there to have more energy and vitality. That's the goal. Are you happy with that, Wilma?
Yeah, I am.
Yeah, okay. And then the process are the things you mentioned, like eating healthier and being more active. And this is where, for you listening, I think about your goals, because a lot of people have those things as the goal. Like they start with the goal is weight loss. And when I work with clients, a lot of clients do have that at the beginning, and then they realize that's not a goal. The goal is often about liking themselves more, is having that confidence, that self-worth. And the weight loss may be part of the process to achieve that, but it becomes very much something that isn't the goal. It's not at the forefront of what the, you know, where they started from and what they think they wanted. So to have more energy and feel more vibrant, to achieve those things we've talked about personally and professionally, focusing first of all on eating healthier. What do you think needs to change? And again, obviously, because of time and the way we're recording the episode, we would go into at this point, and maybe this would be session 3 or 4, like what is going against that right now. So we haven't really gone into what's wrong. We're looking forward at where you want to get
Yeah.
to. So with eating healthier, what would need to happen for you to start to eat healthier? And think about this in you know, like a kind of big way, and then we'll break it down to something
Yeah.
smaller that can become an action.
I think a big part of my struggle is planning and preparation. My husband's always kind of done the cooking in our house, and luckily he's on a really big health kick at the moment, so it's really helped my health eating. But that's only the meals I eat with them as a family. So anything outside of that, which is usually my sort of breakfast and lunch, um, it's very much on the go. It's very much not thought out. Um, I've done stints of diets where I've eaten overnight oats and all the different stuff like eggs, to the point where I've put myself off a lot of it because I went on such a stint of only eating that one thing, because I felt like it was the only way I could manage. So for me, it would be creating sort of a dedicated time slot on my weekends, I would imagine, of where I plan my week of what I'm going to eat, and creating variety so that I don't get into that rut of, okay, I'm sick of this now, and then falling back into the trap of sort of spiraling again and stopping. So yeah, I think that'll be the focus, is preparation. And that's, I think, where it links into what I was trying to say at the beginning of making time for myself as part of the self-care, because the world just revolves. I almost have to plan, like, schedule it into my diary as like, for these 2 hours every Sunday, this is what I'm doing. I'm preparing my meals and and get into that habit, because I feel like once I'm into a habit, it does stick. And
Yeah.
I do seem to do well with routine. But it's just the planning and the prep, and I need to, maybe, rather than thinking of doing it on a Sunday, doing it on a Saturday, so that I'm not put off with, oh well, I haven't got the ingredients and I've still got the whole weekend to go and get the ingredients.
Mm-hmm.
So it's that sort of planning and preparation side of things.
I love that, and that's such a good idea. And obviously, you've thought about this, and you've tried, as you said, different diets in the past. So thinking about that planning and preparation for you to start off at the beginning of January, let's get Christmas and New Year out of the way. From where you are now, how possible do you think it is to go to being able to plan for the week? And when you say planning, actually, is this for the evening meal, like tea, dinner, whichever you call it, or is this for 3 meals a day? What's your expectation there?
So I would only really need to plan for breakfast and lunch, I think.
Right.
'Cause my husband, I'm very lucky that my husband takes care of like dinner every day, and I never really have to think about it. Um, so yeah, it would be having to plan sort of 5 days worth of breakfast, and to be able,
Hmm.
um, where I am now versus that, it feels like a lot. So because at the moment I just don't do any. I kind of just,
Okay.
this morning's a good example. I just had leftover what the kids didn't eat of their cereal because I didn't want it to go to waste. So that sort of thing, um, and I thought, well, okay, really, I've not done myself any favors here, because I've had a half like made breakfast kind of thing that wasn't really nutritious at all, and I'll be hungry in a couple of hours, and then I'll want to snack, but the only convenient snacks are unhealthy. And so yeah, it becomes this sort of spiral, doesn't it? So um, realistically, if I was to start this off in January, I'm gonna have to start with the weekend where I've got income, because I think sometimes money becomes a factor as well. If I could do all the planning in the world, but if I haven't got the funds to buy the ingredients, because just because of how this year's been, really, then it's a struggle, and it kind of interferes, and it, again, it's like almost that give up mentality of like, oh well, I can't do it perfectly, so I might as well just not do it at all. And it's
Yeah.
having to get like past that and saying, what can I do and what can't I do, and yeah, I
Mm.
just need to carve out time to really think about what I'm eating, I
Hmm.
think.
Yeah.
um
You, you've shared lots of really brilliant points there that are very common: cost, time, reality of life, how it spirals. Once you've had the breakfast you've had at the start of the day, then those choices subsequently aren't the best choices either. And you said you just feel like it can be a lot. And you're absolutely right in terms of when you embark on change and you have this goal, and you go all in, it can feel very unmanageable. So if you're okay at this point, I'll give a couple of suggestions. Again, this is something we would work through a little bit more from a coaching point of view, but I'd love to kind of help you with this to get started. And again, I can give you a tool that helps with planning these small steps. Is that all right?
Yeah, of course. Anything.
So what I would say is, you've got this goal and we're thinking 12 months from now. You aren't going to immediately start to feel the energy and vitality and the other things that are linked to that we've shared. This is a process, and
Mhm.
I want you to change in a way that becomes a part of who you are. So you touched on diets and said you've tried lots of diets, and it ends up where it gets a bit stale because you're just doing the same thing, or it's too much and it's not sustainable. I want you to make changes that become a part of your life for life, so that you don't have to ever go on a diet. This isn't about putting you on a diet to lose weight. It is obviously about making changes to your nutrition and the way you eat. But there's a lot of other things in the mix apart from the nutritional food ingredients when it comes to weight loss as well. But start really small. So know that you have this goal from 12 months from now. What would be the goal at the end of January? So if you think about that first month, 31 days is in January, like what would you want to have achieved at the end of January?
I think if I can take baby steps and by the end of January, may I know this sounds really stupid, but just may be able to like make that dedicated time where I've sat down and I've
Mm-hmm.
stuck to it. And every weekend I have said, right, okay, it's 12 o'clock on Saturday. I'm sitting down and doing my meal plan. Everybody bug off. Like, if I can achieve that, I will be really happy, because I think that is going to be the biggest challenge, is just getting started and carving that bit of time out for myself
Mm-hmm.
to be able to think about what the week's going to look like. Because it's just so easy to just get carried away with all the other activities that need done, and then it's 9 o'clock at night and you're too tired. I need to get out of the mentality of I'll do it when the kids are in bed, because so many nights I fall asleep with the kids, or
Mm-hmm.
I'm just too tired and my brain physically can't think anymore, make any more decisions. So I think I need to get in a point where I flip that over in its head and go, right, okay, I'm going to do this first thing on a Saturday morning while everyone's just vegetating, watching telly. I'm going to plan my meal plan or something. And if I can stick to that for a month without falling off the wagon, not even thinking about the food or whether I'm going to stick to the plan yet, but just get to the point where I'm planning every week, would be good.
Absolutely right. This is exactly the way to approach it. First of all, it's not stupid. Nothing that you're thinking or saying is stupid. And I loved how you reframed what you started with, as in, I don't have time, I'm too knackered, I get to 9 o'clock, all of that negative thought process around why it's impossible to have time to sit and plan and prep for the week's meals ahead. But then you reframed it to, I need to be able to say that I am going to do it. So what you said is what I would like you to start to apply to yourself and let's have this goal for January. That is honestly an ideal goal. I couldn't have set it up any better if I'd done it in advance. Is that's a perfect goal. Is I've got there might be 4 or 5 weekends in January. I'm not sure which. Is by the end of January, I want to have gotten into a routine, or I will have gotten into a routine where I'm planning for my breakfast and lunch Monday to Friday for the coming week. And that's the goal. So you're not thinking about the weight loss. You're not thinking about, a diet or what you're going to eat. That's the goal, okay? And then we would work backwards from that. And the piece I wanted to say on that as well is the way you said it and reframing, because you've mentioned you've used the phrase mind frame a few times. That's how we start to again plant that seed of change and reality in our brain of, I am a person who plans their meals on a weekend for the week ahead. Not, oh, well, I just don't have time and it'll get too late and then I won't have time and Sunday it'll just be too stressful. And then it's about looking at, okay, so what needs to happen to be able to achieve that by the end of January? And you mentioned maybe blocking it into your calendar, which could be one of the smaller goals. So how I would suggest working backwards to get to the beginning of where you actually start from is what would be a small step you could take at the beginning of January, being someone who right now doesn't plan their meals, who's eating their kids' breakfasts, would like to have breakfast and lunch prepped for Monday to Friday and have that be nutritious. What would be a first step that you could take? And you know, maybe you don't know what this is right now. If you've got an idea, brilliant. But that's where we're trying to get to. So
Yeah.
could that be what you suggested of blocking some time in the calendar on a Saturday morning, putting a post-it note up to remind, you know, any of these tactics are helpful when it comes to creating a new habit?
Yeah. Trying to think what's realistic. Because I'm in a routine of in the mornings I give the kids the breakfast. I tidy the kitchen up. I do the dishes, dishwasher, all of that sort of thing. It's like you say, there needs to be a prompt to like interrupt my routine. That after that, instead of going to then get ready to sit down on Saturday and meal plan. So what's real? Because I'm not going to look at my diary realistically. um, I need something, possibly a reminder. I think probably to pop up on my phone
Mm-hmm.
because I know I'm very predictable. My kids are going to wake up at 6 o'clock. I'll have them fed and the kitchen sorted by like 9 o'clock, and tidy. Well, I've tidied most of the house and stuff by 9 o'clock. So yeah, if I have a pop up at 9 o'clock or
Mm-hmm.
something to say, and I start my weekend like that, then it's possibly going to set me in like a better mindset for the rest of the weekend. That
Mm-hmm.
I've started the weekend with my planning, and then I'm going to know more when I go shopping what I'm going to need to buy because I've already done my planning. So yeah,
Yeah.
that I, so setting an alarm on my phone, I think, is the first goal.
Brilliant.
Very
Yeah.
small
And
and
that
simple.
exactly. And that's the kind of small steps that I want you to think about. Now, it might be that from the 1st of January, you start off and say, okay, I'm going to have literally 2 to 5 minutes a day this week to think about how on Saturday, because the first is a Monday, how on Saturday am I going to plan the meals for the week ahead? And these are the small steps that get you off the starting block. So the goal at the end of January is to be someone who plans out their breakfast and lunches for the coming Monday and Friday. Right at the beginning could be on the 1st of January, I'm just going to put a reminder in my phone to do this on Saturday morning.
Yeah.
Tuesday might be, actually, I fancy getting a nice little magnetic meal planner board for the microwave. I have one stuck to the side of my microwave. It's very, very used and bent, but I did notice on Etsy the other day that they were on there, and I thought maybe I'm due a new one because it's been very well used. But it could just be that. And so they're the small steps. And then maybe on Wednesday you might think, actually, I'm going to just have a bit of a check of what we've got budget-wise to spend. And so it's those kind of small steps, and it doesn't have to be something every day. I know that might not be manageable, but it's just breaking it into really achievable small actions. I call these actions rather than the goals because these are the actions that are creating a process to achieve your goal.
Yeah.
And it sounds like there's also knowledge to be learned about foods to eat, both foods that are going to support the goal of eating healthier and losing weight, and also prepping them within a short amount of time, and from a cost point of view. And so it could be that one of your small steps is, I'm going to just spend a bit of time on Instagram or Facebook. I'm not going to look at anything to do with my friends and people I follow. I'm going to look at ideas as to how I can create a breakfast. And maybe in the first week, it's only the breakfast that you're planning. or maybe the
Yeah.
lunch, and so I want you to really break it down small. Know that that's the goal at the end of January, but not to approach it with, okay, now I have to be someone who's making 10 meals on planning them, learning what to cook, making sure I can shop for them, doing them from the off, because that's what often creates failure, because it's just impossible to go from,
Mhm.
A to Z overnight.
Yeah.
So does that sound like something
Yeah,
which
no,
could be
it's
more manageable and help you?
definitely. It's
Hmm.
I've never really like thought about it. Like, it's funny because I've taught people about SMART goals and having like really specific small goals, and yet it's when it applies it to your personal life, you just never really think about it. So no, yeah, I never really thought breaking it like down like that to the point of, yeah, today I'm putting up a board and like each day doing something. Funnily enough, I actually have a meal planner board on my like behind my door, but it's just sat there. I've never used it. I used it for a little bit, but I've never actually properly used it. So you've prompted me there to think, okay, well that could be the thing on a Saturday morning that I do, is complete that.
Hmm.
And then even if I just completed that to start with, and I don't get round to the looking at it, I think I'll be happy. But just to get into the habit of completing it, it would be a good start.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so 2024 is going to be that meal planner boards year, isn't it? It's
Yeah.
going to get lots of use. Okay, so just to kind of try and wrap this up, because I'm just aware of time, and I know there's
Yeah.
lots more I would love to dive into, but starting small is really key, because what you are trying to do is create lasting change. And I want you to think about the goal that you have got and why that's important to you. Hopefully this visioning exercise will help with that. But thinking about you becoming this person who has more energy, more vitality, and that leads to you believing in yourself, having more self-confidence, and then some of those practical things you've talked about that being important for, like what you wear, how you show up at work, and so on. So that's what you keep coming back to. When you think, oh God, it's 11 o'clock and I haven't done this on Saturday, or it's just impossible, is okay, why am I doing this? And to keep coming back to that why, to really connect yourself, to have the motivation to go, okay, I am going to do this. Something else you mentioned, which is really powerful to use, is you said doing this on a Saturday morning would create a shift in your mindset and then how the rest of the weekend goes. And that is the reality of what will happen. And those ripple effects I talk about come in all of these choices and small changes you're going to start to make, because you are working towards this bigger goal, but you will start to feel change because you are in control, making these decisions, creating the change. So what you need to do as well, and I can share some of this with Wilma afterwards to help with this, is you need to be regularly reflecting and recognising what you are doing differently. So even if it's the 3rd of January and all you've done is had a look at your board to remind yourself what the layout is, and you've thought about putting the reminder in your phone and you've actually done that, let's not just think about it, is I want you to go, actually, Wilma, brilliant, you've done those couple of things, you're off the starting block. If someone was running the marathon and they've already ran 100 metres, okay, they haven't achieved the marathon, but they've got off that bloody starting block and they
Yeah.
know they're in the race. So that it's really important, because of how our brains work as well, to be rewarding yourself like that with those check-ins, and I am doing that. And if it's tough and the first week doesn't go to plan, then you acknowledge that that's all part of the process, but recognizing that you've done something to move you forward. And I know you're a very logical, process-driven person from the work that you do, and you mentioned the SMART goals. And for anyone else, maybe you don't have to be this kind of person to think this way, but it could be a work project, it could be your home renovation or decorating project, or planning a big holiday even. You work backwards, don't you? You know what you want, but then there's so many steps that have to take place. Imagine you booking a magical family holiday to Disney, and it's a once in a lifetime family holiday with a big group of you. You'd be starting right at the beginning with research. You'd be coming together to chat about, you'd be planning your budget, you'd start saving, you'd look into the reviews on TripAdvisor. So you'd have all of those steps before you get to the holiday and experience the magic of it, or a work project or a home project. So that's the same approach. Is you create that lasting change by taking very small achievable steps, and you recognize that you are moving forward. How does that sound for you?
No, it's it's I'm already excited. I think I'll not wait till the 1st of January to put my reminder on. I'll be doing it when we get off here.
Get going, girl, get going. I love that. Is there anything else that right now you need help with, or that is a concern, or something you just want to ask while you have me here?
No, I think this has been actually really useful. It's not really something I've again, I don't know how to put it, but it's I guess it comes down to prioritizing. It's different going to sort of a diet club to actually thinking what works for me. And I've never thought of having a coaching session for dieting. It's not dieting, but it's changing your lifestyle, isn't it? And it's what works for you, and specifically to you. And there's a lot of value in it, which I probably underappreciated up until now. So it's been really useful. Thank you.
You're welcome. And I do want to call out here, because everything you've talked about are the very common things clients come, or people who are not working with me, that I hear about, friends and so on, all have very similar kinds of wishes and aims, if you like, when it comes to their health. What we've done here is I've accelerated a little bit more into the actions and so on. We would have probably dove more at the beginning into the why and the feelings behind that and so on. But I still wouldn't have talked about food like what we have done here. Your goal is to have more energy and vitality and vibrancy. We know the process is going to be changing what you eat and losing some weight through not just what you eat, but other lifestyle habits. But this is how it would play out. The education and support on the food would start to come later, because a lot of it is switching up your mindset and the way you believe, and getting clear on those goals. Because I don't want anyone to start the new year going, right, that's it, I'm on my diet, I'm losing weight, I'm doing it this time, and then come the first weekend in January, they've ordered the pizza or the Chinese in, and they're like, I can't do it, it's too hard. That's why you keep cycling in it. Take the food element away. Even when you come to start prepping, just prep. Just be a person who plans and preps to begin with. And then gradually, as I say, with those small steps, little baby steps to, okay, what would be a change? And maybe it's, I'm just making this up. Maybe you like Weetabix, and so you stick with your Weetabix, or you stick with your oats. And maybe the first change is, I'm going to add a handful of mixed seeds, which you can buy in Aldi for next to nothing. Just it's adding something in and creating and then gradually, the habit change comes with different food choices. So I hope that helps. I know we didn't get on to the activity. I have said to Wilma that I'm going to be more than happy, and definitely after having this conversation, to work with her again for another hour in January to support with some of these changes, because I'd really appreciate you coming on here and being so honest and open with how you feel and your goals. And I really do appreciate that. And I'd love to help you a little bit more to make sure you are smashing 2024 with everything you want for it. Because I can feel the energy you want it.
Thank you very much, Nicola. It's been really useful, and thank you for having me as well. And, it wasn't as bad as I thought it might be.
I'm very pleased to hear. Yeah, thank you. And thank you for
listening. I was
listening.
going to cry and get all emotional and everything. But no, it's been really good and positive, so thank you.
Oh, you're so welcome. Thank you. Thank you so much again, Wilma, for opening up, being really transparent and honest, and giving me your time to come onto the podcast. It's been a pleasure to support you. I hope that what we've discussed will just be the start of you creating new habits to build strong health in 2024. If anything that we've spoken about today has resonated with you and you'd like to know more, please do reach out and just say hi to Wilma and I on social media, whether it's Instagram, LinkedIn. Just give us a wave, tell us you've listened to the episode and what resonated with you. What is it you're going to take away? Did you have an aha moment about something that you perhaps need to work on or change in your life so that you can improve your health? Remember, as always, that every coaching conversation is unique. And as a coach, when I work with clients, the conversation can go so many different ways. It's like there's a great big maze, and when the client tells me something, I have all of these different routes that I could take based on that piece of information I've just received. And it's not only about what you hear, it's about looking at what the body language is of the client. Is there anything that is being said without hearing the actual words that they're speaking? So there's so much that goes into that coach-client conversation and lots of different ways that it could go. And as I was coaching Wilma today, there were so many things that I was thinking of and working out for her, hearing what I thought it was she wanted, what would be the best way to move forward. So, we could record this again and have a completely different conversation. But ultimately, we are giving that support that Wilma wanted. As a client, when you are being coached, it's about you moving forward, you finding the answers and solutions and setting the right actions that work for you. So thank you so much for listening to our first January 24 episode, and I look forward to welcoming you back on the podcast very soon. Thank you and bye.